before we get into our panelists this evening, the big questions that we're asking at the back of what you just saw, the breakdown of it. What should India really do? Trade deal or tough talk? Should the government call an all-party meet? Time for national consensus, because viewers, it doesn't just seemingly having an economic fallout, but a massive political fallout as well, where the opposition is going after the government of being very indecisive and conservative in its reaction. Let's take all these questions to our two political panelists this evening. Narendra Taneja, BJP leader; Shama Mohammed, Congress spokesperson. Narendra Taneja, it's happening globally, but the Indian stock market have not seen a bigger crash like this in the last 10 months, where 19 lakh crore of investor wealth wiped out in just a single day. What is the government trying to do, A, to inspire confidence of investors and cushion the economy in this time?
Well, when it comes to the stock market, our stock markets, like of other countries, other democracies, globally integrated. So what happens on the planet in east, west, north, south has an impact on the market. So that's what exactly you're seeing, in Mumbai, or what you see today. But when you look at the overall economy of India, our economy, fundamentals are very strong. Growth is very strong. We are roughly $4.3 trillion economy. Today, on nominal basis, on purchasing power parity, we are roughly $13 trillion economy. So I think we don't need to unnecessarily worry about it. And the government, as far as the government is concerned, we have good relations with the U.S. As late as only last week, the American delegation was here. We are in discussion with them. A wide-ranging kind of protocol with the Trump administration. Hopefully, we'll be signing the deal by September, maybe October. So that's what's going on. But at the same time, we are not coming out, the government is not coming out, not talking in TV studio or not hitting the street as some opposition leaders want. It does mean that your government is not talking with the United States. And sometime in diplomacy, this is all diplomacy. In diplomacy, whether it's trade or economic relations or it's energy or even culture, you see, sometimes you actually choose to stay just quiet. Because by doing that, you are also conveying a powerful message.
But, Mr. Taneja, you say that, we don't... I'm sorry I'm coming in, I really do that, but so you're saying that we don't really need to worry about it, but try explaining that to the small and a mid-term investor who's completely spooked. And these were the small and mid-term and, mid-level investors that were driving the markets where India was concerned. And today they stand completely spooked.
No, I fully understand. You see, we have millions of investors, mutual fund investors, salaried people, some even retired people. They have invested. And as I said, that, we don't need to, at this stage, majority of our companies, basically, if you look at the major companies on play in the stock market, their fundamentals are very strong, majority of them. And if you have invested in all these companies, whether directly or through mutual funds and all that, why do you need to worry? Yes, there is what's going on in the world. The market is reacting in Mumbai. But you have to also see the quality of management of these companies. You have to see overall strength of these companies. You have to see their capex plan. You have to see what plans they have for next 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. And at the same time, quality of board and quality of chief exec. That's how we look at these things. Not only this thing, something happens in New York or in Washington, D.C., market suddenly reacts. And the same market can also correct itself within practically no time. So I think that's what I'm saying. We don't need to be unnecessarily worried about it. This is how markets react the world over. When things, when the weather is good, they go up. When the weather is not so good, they go down. But at the same time, the fundamentals of our companies, whether public sector companies or private sector companies, their fundamentals are very strong. These are absolutely good companies. So stay invested. But at the same time, you see, it's not the government job to run the stock market. You will appreciate that. It's the government job to make
I want to bring in fair point. On that note, allow me to bring in Shama Mohammed from the Congress spokesperson. Okay, fair point. Shama Mohammed, the fact is market volatility or what we've seen is a global meltdown. These are global factors. Then to pinpoint the government in saying you're responsible for it is a little bizarre.
Preeti, I want to ask Mr. Taneja, he was going on saying everything is fine, everything is okay. Why are we having the highest household debts? If you see today, we have the highest household debts in India. We have very high credit card defaulters. They are not able to pay EMIs. Why is that? Unemployment at the highest. So everything is rosy, pinky, greeny, but all these things are happening. Can you believe how this government speaks to you? When reciprocal tariffs were put on other countries, China, South Korea, Japan, Mexico, Canada, all replied very strongly and said, we are not going to let go of America like this. All right. And they found out other methods to cushion. But have we heard anything from our Prime Minister? Has he addressed the nation? Has he addressed the investors? Has he addressed the companies? My issue is that exports, which is going to, see, we had a trade surplus with America. Let's understand that. Exports are going to be expensive. Manufacturing and the export industry is going to take a hit. We're going to have job losses. Any incentives for that? There is no plan. This is the only country. Now, there was somebody before him who came on and said, you know what, there are higher tariffs put on Vietnam. It's true, it's about 40. So manufacturing is going to come to us. I want to ask Mr. Taneja, there has been a lot of crisis in Bangladesh. Has that manufacturing come to India? No, it has not come to India. What are we doing? And on top of that, when the world oil prices are $60 a barrel, you have the audacity to increase, as you did during COVID time when it was $50 a barrel, increase gas, no wait, let me finish, increase gas prices, and then you're saying, you know what, we're not going to increase petrol and diesel for the public. Yeah, because it's gone up. In 2 weeks, Preeti, without telling anybody, they will increase this. Because Nirmala Sitharaman, at that point of time, during the budget session, said, you know what, I'm giving you tax relief. And what they do now? Increases. Let's understand one thing very clearly. Petrol was deregulated in 2010, diesel was deregulated in 2015. Okay. When world oil prices go down, you are supposed to reduce the prices. Why don't you reduce the petrol and diesel
Allow
prices?
me to come in once for a rebuttal, Dr. Mohammed.
I have a feeling the fiscal deficit cannot be controlled.
Okay. But Dr. Mohammed, you know, word just came in right before we began the show.
Why have they not reduced the petrol and diesel prices?
Ma'am, we broke the news right now, right on top, that the government is stepping in. They're already advising PSUs to give relief to their investors. A formula is being worked on, and the government is concerted on trying to give relief to the Indian investors. Number one. Number two, you know, these are global factors. No one government is really responsible for how the markets are reacting. It's happening across the globe.
Go down?
Ma'am, okay, let me ask you this question, and I'll bring in Mr. Taneja. Dr. Mohammed, hear the question out, ma'am. The fact is, political rhetoric aside, the question that I ask you is, if the Congress was in power, what would you do differently, which the government is not doing today?
You saw what we did in 2008, how we cushioned a world economic crisis. I was at that point living in Dubai. Dubai's stock market crashed. America's stock market crashed. Except in India, we were not so bad. We know how to go about doing things. We would at least tell the people what is happening. We would have an all-party meet to, you know, tell the political parties, this is what is happening. These are the steps we are going to take. Why is there secrecy everywhere, Preeti? And my question today to you is, if the price of the oil has gone down, why don't they reduce the petrol and diesel prices? Because deregulation has happened.
That's not a question to me. I'll take that question to Mr. Taneja.
So they are saying,
you have a point?
Let me finish. One last point. Preeti, one last point. And then Mr. Hardeep Singh Puri says that, you know, they have certain debt which they are passing on to the people of this country, you know, because we have given subsidies. Okay. So to cover up the subsidies, we are increasing the prices. Now, we had subsidized. We didn't pass it on to the people of India.
But Shama Mohammed, okay, now, you get the example of 2002, Narendra Taneja can come out and say, okay, this is just a global trend right now. They will stabilize and ultimately look at how the Indian economy is functioning far better than most other economies right now. He'd turn around and say that and give you some figures. But Narendra Taneja, there's a point that Shama Mohammed also says, because it was day which coincided. The market crash today, where 19 lakh crore of investor wealth was wiped out, also coincided with a hike in excise duty and LPG prices. Isn't that a tad bit insensitive?
Look, I heard Samaji very attentively, and I hope she will extend the same courtesy to me. You see, the thing is that, you know, she's entitled to her hypothesis. That, look, this is what's going to happen, this is what's going to happen. Lots of people have that, you know. But the question is, that's not reality. I mean, they want basically the government to press the panic button. Why should we do that? Our economy is not China. We are not so heavily dependent on exports. You know, and at the same time, our fundamentals are very strong. Chinese economy had been struggling the last 2 years.
What are we
Everybody knows that the
dependent
entire world does know
Allow
that.
him,
That's
please
why we have
allow him
seen,
his time. He did not
demand
interrupt you
destruction
at all.
in China. Demand destruction. Samaji,
Make your point, sir.
let's have a civilized debate. I heard you attentively, with all due respect, so kindly listen to me. And second point is that the important thing is that what is happening globally, how China is reacting, how Australia is reacting, how EU is reacting, they are entitled to that. They have their own relations with the United States. We have our own relations with the United States. And we have our own culture of diplomacy. We have our own maturity. We have our own way of looking at things. We are a country of 1.4 billion people, and she wants us to imitate or emulate Bangladesh and some other smaller countries, with all due respect to all these countries. The point is that, we are a confident nation. If you look at our economic track record the last 10 years, we have built a strong India today that the entire world is looking up with admiration. If Samaji doesn't want to look at it, in her mind, she wants to compare India with countries like Pakistan, bad economy. It's up to her. She's entitled to do that. But most Indians won't agree with that. Now, this coming to the point that they have raised about the LPG price. Our minister has made it very clear it has nothing to do. Whatever has happened is a kind of adjustment. But at the same time, LPG price, why LPG price? Important thing first to remember is we took LPG cylinder, this red little baby, to every household in the country. When we came to power, majority of Indians didn't have access to it. There were LPG apartheid in this country, practiced by Samaji's government. We abolished that. It's gone. Every household has that. That's important to remember. On the top of it, those who need support, they are still paying only 503 rupees for cylinder. So there is heavy subsidy.
Not 503, sir. Ujjwala cylinder right now from 503 has gone up to 553 rupees. No longer 503.
No, listen to me. I'm just coming to that. No. Listen, I'm coming to that. The point is that overall, this is the business taken because 60% of LPG that we consume across the country is imported. And when the oil world over, the price of LPG went up by 63%, we actually decreased it for those people who couldn't afford it. So that's the approach. But at the same time, if they think when they come to power, they can do this, they can do that, why did they refuse to actually, take LPG to every household? Why the poor people in the country, they were deprived of that? Why did they practice this LPG apartheid?
But Mr. Taneja, you're not talking about now LPG apartheid before 2010 is a conversation of a different time. You're talking about the 50 rupee rise there, especially in both Ujjwala and non-Ujjwala scheme.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I'm coming to that. But still, if you look at, for instance, especially those 10 crore plus people who have got, a part of the Ujjwala scheme, they're still getting subsidy of roughly 500 rupees per cylinder. And when we give subsidy, that means other people pay for that. We have to balance the economy, but at the same time, we are saying the moment market is, the LPG prices come down globally, you see, this is not something cast in iron.
Okay.
My colleague from the Congress party was talking about that they actually deregulated petrol in 20 July. I gave you Samaji date, you may not remember, 10th of July 2010. Yes, you did that. You also actually decontrolled diesel.
Okay.
In that
what I'm going to do is, I'm going to go across to...
You never implemented it. We implemented it.
Okay. I'm going to go back to Dr. Shama Mohammed, but before that, I'm going to break some news and possibly a question of that. I'm coming back to you, ma'am. Just because, it concerns the topic that we're speaking of. Now, we are clearly staring at a trade war of sorts. You quoted, why couldn't we be as strong as China? When what's really happened right now is that the President of America, Donald Trump, has said more tariff if China doesn't scrap the 34% retaliatory hike. Trump sets April 8th deadline for China, threatening additional 50% tariff on China. No trade talks if China doesn't roll back. Stock markets will clearly have dropped further after Trump's threat. And I want to go back to Dr. Shama Mohammed for a quick question and we'll move on to our market expert. But Dr. Shama Mohammed, you were talking about looking at China taking a more aggressive stand. Many would suggest that we should wait and watch. Should we announce a retaliatory measure? Easier said than done. See what's happening right now where China vis-a-vis America is concerned. Many seem to suggest we should reduce tariff to take advantage.
First and foremost, No. First and foremost, when he's putting words into my mouth, you should have corrected him. I never compared our country to Bangladesh or Pakistan. He keeps lying. I said that manufacturing from Bangladesh, which is a country in disarray, did not come to us. And you know who's comparing to Bangladesh and Pakistan? Today, Hardeep Singh Puri saying we are better off than Bangladesh and Pakistan. So it is the government, it is the present government and our minister, your minister in fact, comparing it, not me. And then he says, what is it? Gas apartheid. I've never heard of something like that. You know, Preeti, all used to pay 424 rupees. Everybody could afford the gas. You don't understand that. Now, people, you give them Ujjwala once, and after that, nobody can afford it. There is only a few. We subsidize to every Indian, whether it's middle class or poor, for everybody. So there was no apartheid there. And then what we are asking for, Preeti, is that we are not saying any drastic step, but the Prime Minister of India should come out and have an all-party meet and discuss what is going to happen. What if it hits us very hard? What are we going to do? That is what is the issue. And he did not answer one thing. I asked him, it's been deregulated. Why can't you reduce our petrol prices to 70, petrol and diesel to 50? At $104 a barrel in 2014, we were selling petrol at 75 rupees and diesel at 55. And the gas was at 424. So learn from the Congress government, learn. You know, people are already upset with the GST. On top of that, this, and then we have this tariff issue with America. I mean, we are going to go into recession. And he's also not answered to the household debt, because he does not have answers for all these things, you know. So we want
I'm running out of time.
To have an all-party meet, brief every party on what's going to happen.
Okay, I know, Mr. Taneja, you want to come in, but I've tried to give you both equal time. We've totally run out of time for the political debate. Some would say, thank God. We want to just focus on the economic side of it right now. I thank you for both of you for joining us. And from the politics of it all, let's take it to the economy of it.